Turn the page, live your life every day. Don't let anybody stand in your way.
Hey, Mike Foster here. We got some books. It's another episode of What Are You Reading? Whatcha Reading? I've got 6 books. You know, today I'm going to do something a little different. These are all non-fiction books. You know, I like to read all kinds of books, all kinds of genre. I do read a lot of fiction, but I read just as much non-fiction, and I decided the last several books that I've read, I've enjoyed the non-fiction more. I tend to repeat myself on fiction because I have like dozens of favorite authors and I just read every one of their books once a year. Here's the first one. This is called House to House. It's an epic memoir of war, and this is written by Staff Sergeant David Bellavia, and this is, as he says, his memoir. When this was during the war in Afghanistan back in the early 2000s, and he walks you through what it's like to be a soldier during that conflict. And House to House is very accurate and very apropos, because what they did in that conflict was they would go to the cities, and this is when they cleared out Fallujah, and they literally had to go house to house, and the insurgents would booby trap the doors, they'd booby trap the houses, they would set up, they would close out all the stairwells so that the Americans couldn't get to the rooftops, because that's an advantage point. They did everything they could, and it was very, very dangerous work. It's very down to earth. If you've never been to war, and I never have, I've never shot a gun in my life, it lets you know exactly what these guys, these heroes, have to go through. House to House, worth reading. David Bellavia, they call him Sergeant Bell. Now this one's called West by West, My Charmed and Tormented Life by Jerry West. Now, Jerry West was a great basketball player for the Los Angeles Lakers back in the 50s and 60s. I think he retired in the early 70s. And then he became their general manager during the, during the Magic Johnson years, and during the Magic Johnson years. He was also coach for a little while, and I think he got the Kobe years too. So he's very, very successful. But when he talks about his tormented life, he had a very difficult upbringing, which a lot of successful people do. And he worked his life to overcome that. His father used to smack him around, and I don't think he got the love that he wanted. And it was part of what drove him, but it's also part of what tormented him. It's a very good memoir. I got inspired to read it after watching that. There was a docudrama that was on recently about the Lakers during their swinging times. What was that called? Winning times. And it's also a signed copy by Jerry himself. If you like reading about successful people and how they became that way, a great read. West by Jerry West. Now this was a fun book. Cleveland Amory was a famous columnist back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but he was also an animal rights advocate, and he loved animals, and he couldn't stand cruelty toward them. This is called The Ranch of Dreams. It's a heartwarming story of America's most unusual animal sanctuary, and that's exactly what this is about. This is about Cleveland creating an animal sanctuary in a place in Texas. He bought a bunch of land there, and he opened it up for business, and he didn't turn anyone down. And one of the interesting ones, he talks about all different animals. Sure, there's cats and dogs, but every type of animal you could think of, including elephants. But one of the groups of animals, the herds, were burros, commonly known, sometimes I think mistakenly known as donkeys or mules or jackasses, but burros. And I used to see them driving through the desert in Nevada, in the town of Beatty, burros run wild out there. He says they're considered one of the smartest animals in existence, and they're very, very smart. And burros are friendly, and I kind of have a soft spot for burros because I think they're cute, and now they know they're smart. I like them even better. Really good book, Cleveland Amory Ranch of Dreams. All right, what else you read, Mike? All right, now this one's called The Life of Dion Rich. It says, live like a millionaire with no money down. And it's written by Charlie Jones and Bill Swank. Now, Dion Rich. That's Dion Rich right there. See if you can see him. This is during the 1972 or 4 Super Bowl win by the Dallas Cowboys. Dion Rich snuck on the field, then he snuck into the game, the Super Bowl, and he snuck on the field, and he's famous for being in this picture. But not only that, he's gate crashed into every Super Bowl up until the time he wrote this book, which I think he wrote this over 10 years ago. He's gate crashed Academy Awards, Emmy Awards, almost anything you can think of. Every major sporting event. He has the money. He's a real estate guy down in San Diego. He's in his 80s or 90s. He might not even be with us anymore. But he used to do it because it was more fun to get away with it and gate crash. This talks about his life as a gate crasher. There's more pictures of him. He's up there with Oprah Winfrey, Bill Clinton, even Tiger Woods up there. He is a character. It's also another signed copy by Dion. I'd recommend this, and it was a good read. A character right here. Google Dion Rich. All right, here's one of my favorite authors. This is A.J. Jacobs. Now, A.J. Jacobs writes for, I think, Esquire magazine. I think that's what he writes for, right? Yeah. He writes for Esquire magazine, and he's also a writer. What he does is he gets something in his mind. Like the book prior to this was he wanted to read the encyclopedia. He read the entire encyclopedia and then live out a lot of the stuff he read. This one was called The Year of Living Biblically. One man's humble quest to follow the Bible as literally as possible, and he did. He even to the point of growing a beard, which is in the Bible. He took the Bible literally and did everything he could to follow it, and he did it for 1 year. He's written several other books where he does things like that. He takes it to the extreme. He lives what he writes, and he does it in a very, very entertaining and often humorous writing style. A.J. Jacobs, The Year of Living Biblically. I can't say it. The Year of Living Biblically. Very fascinating read, and it gives you some insight about. There's a lot of good things in the Bible. Lot of positive things. There's a lot of crazy things in there, and highly recommend this and all of his other books. A.J. Jacobs. All right, what's the last thing you're reading? Now this is one more sports. I guess I did read kind of a couple sports books during this time. This is from one of my favorite writers, John Feinstein. He has written dozens and dozens of books about sports. He writes a lot of books about golf. He wrote a book about Michael Jordan. Writes football, basketball, but he writes about all kinds of sports. And this is called The Punch. It's subtitled One Night, Two Lives, and the Fight That Changed Basketball Forever. So this happened in the 1970s with Rudy Tomjanovich and Kermit Washington. Kermit Washington got involved in a little fisticuffs, a little elbows in the middle of the court. This was back when the NBA had a problem with a lot of fighting. There was brawls all the time and fighting, and they had to change their image. And this incident helped change that image. You don't see almost any fighting at all in the NBA because these are big men that, if they're starting to square off against each other, only bad things can happen. So Kermit Washington was in a fight with one of Rudy T's teammates, and Rudy came rushing up to him from behind. Kermit, thinking he was being attacked, turned and automatically did this. He threw a punch that changed both their lives. Rudy Tomjanovich was basically almost knocked out. His jaw was rearranged. His brain was moved in his head. He had to have, I think, 6 or 7 or 8 surgeries. He did come back to play again, but both their lives were changed. Kermit's life was changed. He was never looked at the same. Struggled the rest of his career. This is a story about the backstory about them as men, what happened during that night, and what happened after, and written in the John Feinstein way, which is a pretty very straightforward, but he gets the facts right, and he gets both sides of the story right. Fascinating read. Read a lot of John Feinstein. He's been around for years. He's a great writer. So that's what I'm reading, guys. Non-fiction this time. Maybe we'll do fiction next time, but I think you should get out there and read. Let me know what you're reading, and let me know if you like this series. I've got, I think, another dozen of these, and lots of videos about books and reading, because that's my passion. So check out the rest of my videos. I've got over 1,000 of them at Live Life 365 on YouTube. Until next time, keep reading. Peace.
Live life 365.
Whew, that was a lot of reading, Mike. What do you got here? Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, I gotta catch up and read all those. Oh my gosh. Oh, what the heck's going on? Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's right. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.